WWE has had plenty of shocking moments, but nothing is more bizarre than time travelers showing up at wrestling shows. I'm not kidding. There are actual signs, fans, and even wrestlers who somehow knew the future before it happened. So either someone's messing with the timeline, or we've got WWE time travelers who were actually caught on tape. Let's get right into the video with the first one. Did you know that Daniel Bryan time traveled to WWE Saturday Night's main event in 1989? If you look closely in the background behind Tully Blanchard and Bobby Heenan, you can see a WWE cameraman that looks just like Daniel Bryan from 2013 when he joined the Wyatt family. I think there's two realistic possibilities. The first is that the WWE cameramen around this time just conveniently wore blue jumpsuits and that this employee resembles Daniel Bryan. Or my theory is that Bray Wyatt used his supernatural powers to send Daniel Bryan back to the year of 1989. On an episode of Raw in 2002, Booker T wrestled in a match with Brock Lesnar, and we would see a time traveler in the beginning of the match. This fan had a poster that said King Booker, but it wouldn't be until 4 years later when Booker T would actually become King Booker after winning the King of the Ring tournament. It is odd to think about someone time traveling to let us know that Booker T would become a king, but there's no other explanation. In 2016, Matt Hardy would become Broken Matt Hardy and walk into arena shouting delete. It was a fun character that gave new life to his wrestling career. But what if I told you that there was a time traveler who told us about it on an episode of SmackDown in 2003, 13 years earlier? This fan sign said that V1 has been deleted. The fact that the sign was made in past tense says that the time traveler knew about Matt Hardy's future. So far, a majority of the time travelers we've covered were WWE fans, but there's a strong chance that there might be a time traveler behind the scenes in the locker room. During a match with Kevin Owens at TLC in the year of 2020, Roman Reigns would go on to say this.
This title for like 3 years, and then I'm gonna choke and do something.
The Tribal Chief was right. He would hold on to the WWE Championship for 3 more years before losing the belt to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. Speaking of Cody Rhodes, let's talk about another time traveler from the year of 2007 who told us about the American Nightmare's future. Cody made his WWE debut on July 16th in 2007, and this fan said that we needed to watch out for him because he was going to be huge. It did take some time, but Rhodes would become one of WWE's top stars in the year of 2024 when he won the WWE Championship to finish his story at WrestleMania. You could say this was just a prediction, but it's more fun to believe that it was someone jumping into the digital DeLorean. At the WWE No Mercy pay-per-view in 2005, Rey Mysterio faced JBL, and in the crowd there was a fan that had a sign that said Triple H fears CM Punk. This was 1 year before CM Punk even made his WWE debut, and it was 6 years before CM Punk and Hunter would get into a feud. This fan must have been a time traveler because the two would develop so much animosity for each other over the years, and it got so bad that Punk had to actually leave WWE because he hated Vince McMahon and Triple H. I think this time traveler must have been before the year of 2023 because he didn't know that CM Punk and Triple H would make up, leading to a legendary return at Survivor Series, or who knows, maybe they know something we don't, and maybe in a couple years the two might get into another backstage fight that leads to a fallout. Before becoming Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was just Stunning Steve Austin, and while he was still in his early career with WCW, a time traveler held up this sign telling us that Austin was going to be the wrestler of the 90s, and it turns out that this would become true because he joined the WWE, delivered the Austin 316 promo, and then went on to not only become the wrestler of the 90s, but become one of the greatest of all time in this business. After the Chris Jericho and William Regal match at WrestleMania 17, there was a poster with the names of Seth and Jason on it. Naturally, any normal person would assume that this was just a wrestling fan who wants to shout out his friends, but not me. I choose to believe that this was a time traveler letting us know that Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan would become tag team champions 16 years later. Honestly, I'm not so sure what's harder to believe, that someone traveled through time or that Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan were actually a tag team and won the gold. Throughout the late 90s, WCW and WWE went to war with each other. The NWO was running around while Stone Cold Steve Austin was hitting stunners on everyone in sight. It was the best time to be a wrestling fan, and by the end of the Monday Night War, the WWE was crowned as the winner since WCW was shutting down. This fan in the crowd had a sign that said "Shane saves WCW." This time traveler was right, because that's exactly how it would later play out. Shane McMahon shocked the world and announced that he was the new owner of WCW, so Shane did save WCW, and then the promotion went on to feud with the WWF. On an episode of SmackDown in 2002, during a segment with Kurt Angle, this fan brought a sign saying Rizmania. This is an interesting sign considering that Riz wouldn't become a popular slang term until 20 years later. It only makes sense that a TikTok time traveler went back in time to show us this sign and let us know that Riz was going to take over at one point. At SummerSlam in 1989, there was a 6-man tag team match featuring Demolition and Akeem and Big Boss Man, who that tag team was also known as the Twin Towers. In the crowd, one fan held a sign that read "Demolition will topple the Twin Towers." 12 years later, and we got one of the most tragic events in US history that would involve the real Twin Towers in New York City. Obviously, this sign was just predicting the outcome of a wrestling match, but knowing what we know now, it's still incredibly eerie to see. On an episode of Raw in 2011, during a John Cena match, a fan held up a sign that said "Renee Paquette, shut up." The weird part is that she didn't even work for WWE yet, and she wouldn't join the company until the following year as a backstage interviewer. I like to think it was just Jon Moxley traveling back in time to mess with his wife. On the first episode of Raw in 1999, Mankind would face The Rock for the WWF Championship, and it was a pivotal moment in the Monday Night War. Since the show was taped, WCW's commentary team spoiled the result, mocking WWE and telling fans not to switch over because Mick Foley wasn't championship material. That backfired because millions of people tuned in to watch history, and WWE turned the tide. But what makes this moment even crazier is the fact that a time traveler was in the crowd. As you can see, there's someone in the back wearing a B Team shirt, and that's wild considering that the B Team didn't exist until 2018, which was 17 years later. Sticking with The Rock and Mankind, there was another time traveler caught in the background during one of their promo segments. Behind them, you can spot a sign that says Enzo is a jabroni. The wild part is that Enzo Amore didn't debut in WWE until 14 years later. Sure, maybe this fan was just roasting his friend named Enzo, but let's be honest, it fits too perfectly. Enzo got kicked off the tour bus, he got fired, and then even tried to hijack a WWE event from the crowd. If anyone deserves to be called a jabroni across time, it is him. Do you remember the famous D's Nuts meme from 2015? Well, there's been a couple of time travelers in WWE history where we saw this sign in the crowd. It was at WrestleMania 18 in 2002, and it also happened during an episode of Raw around that time as well. This was 13 years before the video exploded and gained popularity. Anyways, that is it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more, and here's some other videos I think that you might enjoy.